Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate all of you tuning us in as we get into Science Bob and Friends. Yes, Dr. Bob McGwier, a.k.a. Science Bob, is back for another great episode of all things non-woo, even though we pretty much going to get into the woo. So thank you so much for joining us, and do us a favor if you haven't already, hit subscribe, ring that bell, as we are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. Moving on, let's say hello to each and every one of you in our chat room so far. We have Ann B in the gold medal position. Race Fan taking home the silver. TMI with a nice bronze medal tonight. I Brown Dwarf and Roy Boy, Sandra Kincaid, Third Rock, Chris 716, Jen A, how are you? D. Cohen. Human Carl is here. Human Carl's a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you so much for your service, Human Carl. We really do appreciate it. Lisa C. and JSCO, how you doing? Penman. And _ Maddie, what's happening? Phil the Stalker's here. What's happening, Phil? And Bigfoot Rob. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, good to see you. Jessica and Luscious Jules, how you doing? Good to see you. Mama Catherine, mwah. I love you, my dear. I hope you're having a wonderful night. Thank you for tuning us in. And say hi to Charlie for us, if you don't mind. And let's see, who else do we have here? Richard Elmore and Jacques Valet kicking off the super chat tonight. Thank you, Jacques, all the way from Norway, for your love and support of this show. Jacques will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Dog from Australia, how you doing, my bud? Good to see you. Parasolo, Cosmic Fleur, and Millennium, my man. Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Peppa H. and Nick Adkins. Good to see you both. 509er Toothbrush. Gloria, where have you been hiding lately? It's good to see you. Gloria will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Kathy Evans, good to see you. Lee the Bee, Troy SR71, thank you for coming on in. Worsley, where have you been hiding? Wow, got some old school people in here tonight. And Marty Burback, Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his Spaced Out Radio. All right, thank you so much for joining us. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Let's say hello to Tim Mothman and Doug Hovius. Welcome to SOR Chat. Susan Alloway, thank you for coming on in. And who else? We have Rono. Johnny Yuma, what's happening? Digger Dog, good to see you. Robert Lamoth, thanks for joining us. Super Crazy, nice to have you back. And let's see, who else do we have? Well, there's la. Right. Good to see you, my dear. Thank you for your love and support. I really do appreciate you more than you know. I even told Science Bob that the other day. All right, Deb from SAC, thank you so much for your lovely super chat, and good to see you tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support. Welsh Hammer, Cliff Sy, good to see you both. And Dry Toast, the best name on YouTube right there. Mama Susan, how are you? Let's get the radio side started, shall we? So that way we can let Bill WD-40 into the chat room to lube us up for tonight's show. Just watch for me. He's going to appear right here. And who else do we have? Chris Teen, nice to see you. And I think we're caught up on people so far, as we got 30 seconds to go before Science Bob and his luscious locks of hair join us for tonight's show. Oh, gosh. Oh, I love Science Bob time. I really do. It's some of the best time I have on the radio. All right. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do. Ali D, welcome to SOR Chat. And do me a favor, everybody. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show and our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show of good stuff for you tonight. Science Bob is here. Yes, Dr. Bob McGwier, formerly of Virginia Tech University, former spook agent himself, will be here momentarily to talk about the who, what, where, when, why, and how of all things scientific in the paranormal supernatural world. Then in hour number 3, it's a night off for Steve Stockton, so no Among the Missing tonight, but we will have little Timmy Senor right off the bat and give you a hour-long UFO report, which is always going to be a lot of fun with Tim. I'm excited to see him. He's actually coming up to visit me here in about a week and a half. And yeah, things are going to get real exciting, real exciting. All right, it's that time of the night where we say hello to our guest, Science Bob and Friends, a monthly feature on this show. And we love it when Dr. Bob McGwier comes on in to talk about the interesting side of paranormal, supernatural, and everything in between. Now, the former head of Virginia Tech University Science and Math Department, Science Bob, also has a background with many alphabet agencies. Why? Well, because when you're that good, you get your names put on satellites. That's what happens with Science Bob. Yeah, we're not dealing with another Dave here. We're dealing with a guy who actually has some brains and knows how to use them. And that's why we always love it when he's here, because we get to ask those tough questions, not the woo questions, even though the woo may be involved a little bit. But we love him around here. He's like family. Dr. Bob McGwier, a.k.a. Science Bob, we love you around here. How you been doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. So we've been having weird fun around here, and I've been looking at the UFO news a lot. And my regular news station is now News Nation. So I was looking at Ross Coulthard everywhere. So it's interesting.
You know what? You bring in, that's something we really haven't talked about on this show, is News Nation has literally come out of nowhere. And they have become the hotspot for UFO news. And they are right in on it. Like, they actually are seeing right where we had always hoped news outlets would see. Are you surprised by this, Bob?
I am not, because they're not a huge corporate-owned mainstream media outlet. And they're hungry. They're trying to climb up the ladder. and they're trying to be nonpartisan. So they regularly interview both Republicans and Democrats and independents inside the United States. They cover news around the world, where a lot of people don't do that in mainstream media, except sitting at their desk listening to whatever lies they're being told from the field. They don't go do war correspondence stuff anymore. I mean, just News Nation seems to be an okay place, and I pretty much have parked it there, except for a couple of favorite programs for all UFO news.
Well, I mean, I'm glad to see it. And I'm glad that it's not the same faces, because no offense to these people, but I got sick and tired of seeing the same faces on Fox and then going over to CNN, seeing the same faces tell the same stories over there. News Nation seems to be actually covering this topic from a journalistic point of view. Now, whether you like them or not, look, we all have our favorites when it comes to news coverage, and we all have our detractors. But the one thing that I do give credit for is the way they are covering this story on a journalistic level. And it's not just, famed journalist Ross Coulthart who is doing it. They have a team of reporters that is all over this UFO story, Bob.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have some CNN retreads, but there are people that are doing right down the middle on all sorts of coverage. And it's just been solid since the beginning. And I think the UFO stuff has gotten them pretty high ratings. And Congress is paying attention, because 53 or 4% of the American people want to know more and want to know the truth.
Well, let's talk about the truth, because we're hearing there's going to be more hearings coming up in July, Bob.
Yep.
And we don't know the dates. We don't know anything. All we're hearing is the end of July or close to it. What, if anything, are more hearings going to do? Because maybe I'm looking at this from a too broad a perspective. Okay. But I think we're 0 for 3 right now in the 3 hearings we've had.
Well, that's because we've all only seen the put up bureaucrats from the inside the Beltway, where people want to hear, where they want to control the flow of information. What I'm hearing from the Senate and the House is the people they want to put on are the people who've seen stuff, who know stuff, who've done stuff, and can talk about what they know. And we need a first person who's been inside these programs to come and sit down and testify, because the Pentagon right now is going around and threatening everybody who they think might testify.
Okay, let's get into that for a second here, because I heard that rumor too. And what is with the idea that they are doing this, that they are trying to alleviate this situation by making veiled threats to anybody who wants to testify, especially under the whistleblower program?
Fear. They fear what will be the outcome, the ultimate outcome of all these revelations. It is an illegal thing they have done, covering up this money from the United States taxpayer being spent on stuff and Congress not being given oversight. That's illegal. And so then I think there's still the legacy program where, look, Dave, there's 1,000 stories that go along these lines. We saw something and people came and intimidated us and threatened us and all this other stuff. Those are crimes. If they've gone around and committed crimes, they don't want any accountability. So everybody's fearing bad stuff will happen if this starts flowing out and they lose control of the narrative.
Mm-hmm. No, and I understand that, and I can appreciate that, Bob, because there's 80 years of secrets that we know of that the public is going to want to come out. And this is why I always say there's this little Pandora's box hidden somewhere deep inside the Pentagon that is holding the real truth to this phenomena that they don't want out, because there's going to be a lot of conjecture. There's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of embarrassments, and potentially a lot of lawsuits that follow along with not only breaking the law, but on maybe things they know, like people who are being abducted.
They
And that's
really don't want to cover that topic. They won't even mention it. And if anything comes out like Dwight D. Eisenhower went to the end of a runway at Holloman Air Force Base and signed a deal where we gave aliens access to human bodies in return for technology, it'll be a long time recovered from that.
Well, not only is that going to affect the U.S., that's going to affect the entire world.
Oh yeah, because look, what is clear from things Grusch said, and for the purposes of this program, let's assume that everything Grusch says was true. This means all of the English-speaking nations that are formerly British Commonwealth or current British Commonwealth or former possessions, the Five Eyes, they're all complicit.
That's what we're getting at. And, that's the cover-up. But I look at this as well as the cover-up being also about technology. We don't know what we have learned from these craft. And I want to get into, because every night we have new listeners, Bob. I want you to give me a quick 2-3 minute synopsis on the importance of what whistleblower David Grusch said in private to Congress, because we've learned a lot about him over the last year and what he's been doing. We know that he has briefed Five Eyes countries like Canada at least twice. We know that he has been attending UFO conferences, and I think that is to get a feel for what the community is all about. We know he has attended a conference where you were. We know he's attended, so let's learn about this guy. What have you learned about David Grusch?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, it was a shock that he sat in the table in front of myself, Linda Thompson, and Melinda Leslie, and Nancy Stratton in Huntsville. He was at the table right in front of us, and of course, none of us knew who he was. We just thought he was another attendee. The person from NGA assigned to Space Force definitely interacted with him. They came out to me and talked to me. The guy that's NGA's representative to Space Force came out and talked to me, and Grusch stood on the side silent. And I had to disappoint with them and tell them I couldn't work with them on letting Hawkeye 360 technology and all this other stuff be used to help them, because I no longer had a security clearance. That the consternation on their faces was palpable. So anyway, but I didn't interact with him. I had no idea who he was till I saw him on the news with Ross. Okay, because I had never met him. But what I have heard is the following. This guy has crossed paths with me and a bunch of other people I know multiple times since he became involved with the intelligence community. We know for a fact that he worked for Jay Stratton and Taylor at UAPTF, and that's where at UAPTF, the Unknown Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, that was the first thing they stood up trying to get a handle on where to go. During that was when he discovered, because people talked to him in camera, in silence, in private. They talked to him. They told him about these programs. And when he went and knocked on the door, every door that he is supposed to have access to, he got exactly the same response Admiral Wilson did. No, you're not on the bigot list. The bigot list is the name of people who can get in the door. Okay, he was not on the bigot list, and they wouldn't talk to him. And so he eventually went, this cannot be true. He went all over government, just like Wilson did, all over government, looking for where the programs were funded, who was in charge of them, who was the government officer who was managing the contract if it was out in private corporations. And he ran into a brick wall everywhere. So he went to the Department of Defense, Inspector General. That is the group that he would talk to because he was former Air Force. He was working for a defense agency and tasked to the UAP task force, which was a Department of Defense entity in the beginning. So when he thought he had something to say, he went to the DOD Inspector General, and he complained that he was running up against things he should have access to, and he was suspicious and handed over all sorts of documentation that this program was being illegally run and illegally covered up, and Congress did not have oversight. And very shortly thereafter, the DOD IG had done some investigations, but they were not careful, because immediately he began to receive retribution, threats, removal of security accesses, and so forth. But because the UAP stuff that got going was moved partly in the Director of National Intelligence Office and DOD, when the NDAA was signed, he decided to come out and talk to the department, the Director for National Intelligence, Inspector General, the Inspector General for the entire intelligence community. And they took him absolutely seriously. And they got a finding based on all the evidence, and the people the DNI Inspector General called in and put under oath. And they didn't need to, because they're under oath. If you go and talk to a federal officer, you are under oath. You lie to a federal officer on any topic that touches their official duties, and you have committed perjury. You are not allowed to lie to a federal officer. You can say, I'm not answering the question because I plead the Fifth Amendment, but you're not allowed to lie to them. So they got all these people in, and they, including people Grusch had never met or talked to. Okay, so they came in and they backed up his testimony. So the Director of National Intelligence, Inspector General for the intelligence community, had a finding that his claims were credible and they were urgent. That meant both claims. The claim that he was being persecuted, and the claim that he found a secret program that was being run illegally. And that was turned over to Congress, to the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and the House Select Committee on Intelligence. And then, so that's good that you went to both of them, because one of them is acting well and the other one is acting suspiciously. So in the last National Defense Authorization Act and Intelligence Authorization Act, there was language that would just force these people to come out and tell the truth. But in the House Select Committee on Intelligence, they took that forceful language out and pulled all the teeth. So, and then we learned, because I looked, that in the United States Congress, the committee chairman, that's his kingdom. He runs what happens there. So the House chairman on the House Permanent Select Committee for Intelligence did not let that language go forward. And why? Why would he do that? Well, guess what? He's from Ohio. And guess what's in his district? Dayton and Columbus. And guess who's there? Battelle and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They got to him and had him squelch that language. So now over back in the Senate, they called in Kirkpatrick, and Kirkpatrick told them of all the stuff he was able to do, what he hadn't seen, and they were testing him. They tested him. And here's the test. They got him to say some stuff like, we have seen no credible evidence of this, that, or the other. But they already knew that these people that were coming in and saying, we are part of the legacy UFO program, we do crash retrievals, we're doing reverse engineering, and they knew already when he came and told them bald-faced lies that he was lying to them, because they had already gotten the testimony. So now this is all turned into a serious cauldron inside the intelligence community, DOD, and its corporations that serve it. And just rumors are rampant that the right places that have the initials Lockheed Martin are running around trying to get rid of their craft because they don't want to be caught holding it. Okay, so it's just unreal stuff going on inside the government. But the gist of it is, on News Nation especially, but other places, anywhere Ross Coulthart will go, and senators and congressmen, etc., on News Nation are coming out and calling it like they see it. They said, we are hearing from all sorts of people who have firsthand information that Grusch did not have. He had secondhand, but they have firsthand. They're in these programs. They've operated in these programs, and they are backing up Grusch to the hilt. And this served notice on everybody in government that Congress, in the executive branch, that Congress was not going to take their crap. So they reinserted the language, and this time, Grusch and Mellon and Elizondo and a bunch of others, they helped Gillibrand craft a coffin. And they put their carcass inside the coffin and nails all around it. They're going to get buried because there is no way for them to not tell the story now. So they're running around taking all sorts of risks, threatening anyone who might go talk to them because they know they're done.
Would that, with 2 minutes to go, would that bring down the military-industrial complex? Could it?
There is no way the United States of America is going to allow the military-industrial complex to fall. It's $900 billion of our budget, and it's the thing that stands between us and Russia and China. They're not going to let them fall. They might have a few scapegoats, but they're not going to let them fall.
Okay, so if that is the case, what do we do here, Bob? Because we're hearing, and we're going to get more into this in the next half hour, we're hearing that there's another 8 to 10 potential David Grusch-like whistleblowers about to come out regarding this subject of UFOs. How important is it when you get a magnitude of, say, 10, 11 of the same people explaining maybe not the same stories, but the same government cover-ups? I mean, that's going to be, if that is true, that's going to be massive for a massive blow for not only the intelligence community, but the secrecy behind this whole project of ufology.
Indeed, it will. So I believe if they get from what Senator Rubio is telling us, these are senior people, really senior people. In other words, they're senior executives. They're political appointees. They're risking everything by coming out. Because with a single stroke of a pen, whatever agency they serve cannot renew their contract, and they can make up a reason and get away with it. Okay. And then all these corporations where they're doing stuff that might be on the wrong side of the rules, they can just get cut off, and all their money from government stop flowing to them. So it's just a ton of stuff a lot of the dominoes in your stack of the building you're building are going to get pulled out, and the house is going to crumble. But the United States government is not going to let the things it needs desperately to keep fall apart. It just won't happen.
Science Bob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because I can hear you getting fired up for tonight's conversation, and I love it. I love it when Science Bob gets fired up, especially on the UFO topic, because there's nothing better than a heartfelt conversation on Spaced Out Radio, and that's what we got tonight with Science Bob and friends. Dr. Bob McGwier hanging on out with us for his monthly feature. We will be back with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio when we return. More UFO talk from the scientific side of Science Bob. Hi, Forrest Louie. How you feeling? Hope you're feeling better, buddy. And who else came in here? Justin Hemmingson. Good to see you. Bob's getting serious when he's moving the wooden chair. He's not messing around when that wooden chair gets moved.
No, I got to get it out of the way because I'm going to be slinging.
C-Tech, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. Forrest Louis, thank you so much for that super sticker. Very much appreciate your love, buddy, each and every night. You're amazing. And yeah, we are caught up. We are caught up.
Why is this thing out of focus? Oh, let me do this. I have no idea why that. Oh, there it is. It focused. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it defocused.
You look good.
Thank you. I got my favorite old map shirt on.
Mm-hmm. I got my what's this one? My Area 51 shirt on.
I like that.
Yep. Hi, little Timmy Senor. Hi, Jimmy Gonzalez. How you doing? And who else has joined us here? Noble Patrick, Vlad the Impaler, the lovely and talented Kira, kicking in with a super chat as well. Thank you, lovely Kira. And who else is joining us here? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Good old Science Bob. I get excited when you come on the air with me, man. Arrow, how you doing, man? Says, I've got no shirt on. I'm butt naked. I was about to pull the Bert Kreischer look earlier today. I was just going to put a hat on and leave my shirt off, but I didn't want to scare away Science Bob or the rest of you. So I decided to put a shirt on and keep the hat off. Two Heads, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat. D. Henderson, welcome to SOR Chat. She's like, hey, everybody. Hey. With those lovely hearts. Thank you. I'm going to be redoing the studio this weekend, Science Bob.
Cool.
Yeah. I just got to figure out the whole desk thing. My desk is too big for in here. So I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet, but we're going to figure something out. Two Heads from Tasmania. Wow. Thank you. Our second ever listener that I know of from Tasmania. Sally Elka is the other one. Charles Wempe, how you doing, man? Max Ritchie, good to see you. D. Henderson, where are you from? I always like to know where new people are from. Aram 95, question. We may have an answer. How you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat. Bring back the handlebar mustache. Oh, yeah. Like Clue Haywood from Major League. He had a great handlebar mustache. Clue Haywood. Oh, D's from Chicago. Oh, you got to watch out for them Bears and Blackhawks fans. She's all excited because they got Connor Bedard. She's like, who the hell is he? Zoria, how you doing? All right, Bobbert, we got 1 minute. Millennium, my map is right beside this empty spot. I am going to put it up in the new look, but I literally have crap all over the place because it just keeps piling up in here. So I got to make some changes, and it starts with
look, this green screen is behind me because my crap is piled up the wall.
Yep. Let's see. Michael Ashworth, welcome to SOR Chat. And thank you to our super channers, Shaq Valet, la 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 la, Deb, Bobbert, Louie, and Kira. It's a great way to support what we do. Aram, I will ask that question in after this half hour. But yes, thank you for that awesome super chat. Very much appreciated, Aram. And yes, we will go. Just so you know, you don't need to buy questions here. We take questions as long as they're in capital letters. Here we go.
Did you see me in the chat tell you that Kira's
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I'm blown away by our audience in our YouTube chat tonight. Panama, Tasmania, all over the United States and Canada, Australia, Europe, all tuned in tonight. This is truly international tonight, and I'm absolutely loving it. See, this is why I love doing this show. Not only on terrestrial radio, but on the YouTube side of things as well, is because you get all of these amazing people from around the world gathering to talk about these amazing subjects that we do. And I hope you're enjoying it as well, as much as I am. My name is Dave Scott, your host of Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And I want to remind you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Science Bob and Friends continues right now with Dr. Bob McGwier here for his monthly feature that he comes on in. Dr. Bob, Panama. I've never had somebody from Panama in our chat room. Tasmania. Wow. I'm blown away right now. Blown away. Thanks, Bob. Look, Ali D. Look at that. Hi from a Nicaraguan in Panama. I love it. I love it. That just excites me so much.
Muchísimas gracias, Ali D.
We're talking whistleblowers here. Okay. And I want to know, with the fact that right before the break, we were talking that there's could be another 8 to 10 David Grushes or David Grusch-like people in the know of this UFO world. Do you think they would have been a part of UAPTF or ATIP or other UFO programs, Bob?
No, they were people who were involved with the legacy program. Some of them are still in government at very senior levels. Some of them are known to the public and have ridden up their ranks up into the government and are known now. So it's kind of if any of the that's the rumor intelligence, is true, this would really blow the door open. And I think the people that are hiding it are really scared. I think they really are, and they have reason to be.
What's the potential outcome of all of this?
Let's suppose everything that David Grusch has said is true. We already have that assumption. But let's suppose all the consistent leaks about the technology that we've heard for decades and decades is also true. The craft have a power source that allows them to hover above an area for hours and hours, because that's what the naval aviators saw, along with all their radar ships with the Teddy Roosevelt in the Virginia training range for months and months and months on end, every single day, hovering there, flying way too slow to be able to do what they're doing. So what does this mean? It means there's an energy source that we utterly do not understand. It's derived from physics we do not understand. And taken to its logical implications, it means something like the science fiction of 0-point energy, something like that. But so they've tapped an energy source that's not normal. and because they're generating all sorts of ability without throwing off a ton of heat. It's just not normal what they're getting and see what we're seeing. So what does this mean? It means no more fossil fuels, no more nuclear reactors, no more gasoline, no more coal, no more crap being dug up out of the earth so we can make electricity. It's just remarkable. All right, now let's suppose that in addition to that, we can hover above the ground, burning these never inexhaustible energy sources. It will take zero to move anything anywhere we want it in the world. Nothing. It'll take nothing. You have an inexhaustible source of energy, and you have anti-gravity, and you can move whatever you want anywhere in the world for next to no cost. Just those two things, Dave, they will completely, totally change our world. We will not recognize the day after from the day before. People from the day before won't recognize the day after. We will totally lose contact with half of our economy. Half of our economy will no longer be needed. Let's suppose some of these entities that we have had in captivity have shown them how to do amazing medicine. Suppose they have. So I and other people have witnessed honest to goodness, documented miracles of a medical kind. Again, one more thing that just will utterly change everything about our world. Imagine no longer having any need, no having any want, having any fear of not having a place to live, the energy to power your life, food, medicine, etc. Just all of a sudden, all that goes away. Wow, Dave, I want to live there. Can I move in?
Well, it won't be Canada for a while, but that's okay. That's all right. Nobody can afford here right now. Nobody can afford here. But, I understand with where you're coming from and the way that as you just put it eloquently about how things are going to change if all the core secrets come out regarding this program. Do you believe then, or let me rephrase that. What do you think, Bob, are the biggest secrets that the United States government hypothetically may be holding out on regarding this subject?
Okay, so if any of the stories about the cover-up from 1945 or during World War II, where we had Foo Fighters, all the way up to the present day are true, there's been crimes committed everywhere. And there'll be a crashing criminal mess that could very well bring down large portions of our government. There'll be a lot of people that will be complicit in the cover-up. And it's just unbelievable the impact it could have. And then if we are in fact sharing these secrets amongst all our allies, that means a ton of them are implicated as well. And, the United States doesn't have an official secrets act, so it can't declare a secret official when it's involving a crime. Whereas other countries can say this is an official secret, it'll never go into a court. So it's just there'll be a lot of turmoil, Dave, and they're worried about a lot of turmoil. That's number one. And number two, we're seeing these videos come out all over the place, and they are old enough. They don't appear to me to be CGI or stop action figures. They appear to me to be real. And some of these are tall gray aliens. And what if all of that's true? What if they learned, Dave, that Adam and Eve were brought here by aliens? That's just going to be very disruptive.
I look at things like this. Do we have reverse engineering? Do we have 0 point energy? Have they contacted or been in contact with extraterrestrial species? Those would be my top 3 questions regarding this. Add in, do we have alien bodies? David Grusch says we have the pilots. We've talked about that on the roundtable. Okay. And to me, that is one of the greatest pieces of information that has ever come out publicly, and nobody's talking about it. It amazes me. Okay. But Bob, if you were to put your top 3 or 5 hidden issues regarding this, what do you think is the cover-up?
What do I want to come out of the cover-up, or what do I think is actually being covered up?
Let's go with being covered up first.
The crimes, the technology, and how they buried this program under mountains of bureaucracy to keep it covered up. The investigation of that will go on for a decade. How they did it will be huge.
Okay. Do you believe then that out of these congressional hearings that somebody like a David Grusch may say in front of these hearings that we are in contact with an extraterrestrial species? Or do you think that that's still a long conversation away?
I think that he will not be allowed to say that in open session, because he is not going to sit there and violate his non-disclosure agreements in public. Now, if he comes to them in private, in classified closed-door session, he is given blanket amnesty by the NDAA, and he can tell them what he knows. I don't believe the public will hear it for a long time.
Okay, what if the person chooses to go public like Grusch? So let's say, Bob, you are a whistleblower. Hypothetically, you are a whistleblower. How do you get your information out like Grusch did? Did he have to go through, and I would assume he did, for all intents and purposes, have to go through what he could and could not say publicly?
He did indeed, and we already know this because during the interview, Coulthard asked him and averred over and over again that he had pre-publication approval from the Department of Defense on everything he could say publicly and that which he could not speak to. And he has assiduously followed the rules. And they have been looking constantly at the things he's been saying to see if they can catch him in a leak and prosecute him.
But he's playing it too tight.
He is the consummate intelligence professional. This guy briefed the President of the United States. They don't put pikers that they get from sweeping the sidewalk and talking to the president. This guy knows how to keep a secret. He knows he can't cross certain lines, and he won't do it.
Very true. Very true. Okay. So what could we hear out of these potential new hearings coming this month from other whistleblowers? What would be, in your case, what would you like to hear?
I'd like to hear 5 witnesses come forward and say, we have firsthand knowledge of these programs. We were directly involved in reverse engineering, crash retrievals, biology of alien entities, and so forth and so on. And we stand by and stand behind everything David Grusch has said. None of that is classified. It's already been marked for release. All of it has been marked for release because he wouldn't have said it to Ross Coulthard if it had not been approved for release. So that stuff is releasable, and they can say that in public. And when you get a ton of well-known, well-qualified, highly ranked people coming out and saying everything Grusch has told you is true, and here's how I know, and so forth and so on, without violating their security oaths, then suddenly all of mainstream media will follow the story.
Okay. When they are following that story, they're going to want, the public wants information, Bob. Okay. And if we look back at the last 3 hearings, they really haven't provided a lot of intel information. Sean Kirkpatrick, the head of Arrow, I mean, he was pretty much informing us that all of his walls in his house are beige and he drives a beige four-door Volvo, even though he doesn't have children. I mean, this guy was Mr. Boring, and that's probably what that position needs for the security reason, and are we going to potentially get anything out of this? Because at this point, for the public's sake, the hearings are being bastardized by the political system. And yet everybody is talking openly, whether it's Marco Rubio or Senator Kristen Gillibrand, or whether it is Tim Burchett, who's being very loud about things. They're all saying this is for the best of the public, but we're not going to let the public know what's going on. We're going to continue to treat the public like kindergarten children.
Okay, so the timing to me is obvious. I know what the timing is about. It's absolutely obvious if you've ever worked in and around government at a high level. The end of July begins the August recess, when all these people that are running for office are going to start running around all over the country raising money so they can run next year. And they'll be gone. That's just when their vacation is. So there'll be the regular bureaucracy, the military, and the President of the United States left in Washington. There's one person who can walk to a podium after signing a piece of paper and tell us whatever he wants. Only one person. And I actually think that is a possibility, that he will come to the podium and say, all these people have come forward. They've told us what's going on. And here's what I can say. People, we are not alone. We have had knowledge of this for a while. Give us time to work through all the implications, because we don't want to destroy the entire workings of our government. And we want to bring this out carefully. And maybe he will release a photo or two. But he is the only person who can do this, because he has the ultimate declassification authority where no one else does.
Does it have to be the President of the United States?
It pretty much has to be. I don't think anybody else. I think that they have put together this unbelievable, clever interlocking of controls and cross controls over this person is the classification authority, this person the classification authority, this person the classification authority, and this person the classification authority. And so none of them can say no and anything come out. So only the President of the United States can wipe all that away.
Considering the fact that China and Russia have their own UFO programs going on, is it imperative for the West, and focusing on the United States and maybe the Five Eyes, to disclose first?
I think so. I don't think we'll disclose the level we have reached in reverse engineering, because if what we have been told, which, look, people wonder, how can you keep this a secret? The government can't keep a secret. How does it keep it a secret? They haven't kept the bloody secret. This stuff has been leaking out for 75 years, and they've just managed a disinformation cover-up every time a leak came out. Okay. Oh, I'm tired of hearing that, because it's just not right, because you know and I know, having been in this for a long time, it has leaked. Constantly leaked, and then they plug the gap. They make a fool out of them. They take away their security clearance. They ruin their home life. They do whatever they need to do to keep it covered up. Okay, so we don't need to tell the Russians and the Chinese where we are. But there's a lot of stuff that is going to be hard to keep in. The minute they identify one technology that's changed the way things are done, and it was favored to a single company, every other country involved in that field is going to sue. Every single one. because that company was given unfair advantage over all the other competitors, and all the competitors will sue. So they have to take time to write down laws that will keep that from happening. It's just going to take time.
Oh, okay. So we got about 4 minutes to go here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Science Bob, Dr. Bob McGwier here with us, and we're going to take audience questions when we return. Bob, what should we watch out for over the next little bit here regarding hearings, regarding more whistleblowers coming out?
Scheduled hearings. If we hear scheduled hearings, the crap is about to hit the fan. They publish a schedule, and if it's right before the break, it's going to go out just like I said.
Excellent. Excellent. So if everything goes smooth, what could be the best outcome?
We hear testimony in public, and then they go in private. But look, they've already heard all this private testimony. If the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence has public hearings with Mark Warner and Rubio sitting in the front, along with Gillibrand and what's her name from the of the Armed Services Committee and Intelligence Committee, then we're going to get a show. We're going to get a show.
Where does Lou Elizondo play in all of this? He's been so silent publicly.
I think he's more than ready to step back. He said that multiple times and on multiple occasions. He's happy that Grusch is out so he could step back, because he's had his life ruined by the people that want to have these secrets kept. They got in the way of everything that TTSA was trying to do. And so he gave up his life in Washington, D.C. and its environs and lived a meager existence. And now he's living on the outback in Wyoming. Well, I think he would like to recover his life. I think he would like to have his security clearance passed to somebody who could use him so that he can make a living and take care of his family.
Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. Chris Mellon has been very silent, another big name in this field. He seems to be very more, docile about the subject. Is that on purpose, you believe?
Yeah. I think it's because he realizes he's one step from winning, and the only thing he can do is cause problems if he opens his mouth. He doesn't want to cause problems. He wants the stuff to come out.
Well, that may work. That may work here very, very quickly, Bob. If we're able to get our way, if we're able to get the public's way. The unfortunate part about it is the public is still going to be the ones that suffer. And personally, I don't know about you, I'm tired of the political game regarding this. I'm tired of being treated like we're not grown up enough as citizens, not only of the United States for you, Canada for me, that we're not big enough to play or learn about this subject.
Look, the context has just totally changed. In the 1940s, we were worried an existential threat was the Soviet Union, and we did what we had to do to cover up our technology to give us an advantage over them. But things changed, and the insiders didn't change with it. I think that's the story we're going to hear.
Well, you know what? It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out over the next little bit here, Bob, because, the one thing that is going to be guaranteed, whether new hearings show up or not, is frustration. There's going to be a lot of frustration and angry people. And I don't think that whether it's Tim Burchett or Marco Rubio or Kristen Gillibrand, if they continue at this pace for the next little while or the next year or 2 or 5, I think they're in for a lot of criticism, and well-deserved criticism.
Yeah, well, look, there is no doubt in my mind that whistleblowers have been coming and telling them this stuff was going on all along, and they've been afraid.
I agree. Bob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. And when we return, audience questions for Science Bob, Dr. Bob McGwier, anything UFO or paranormal supernatural coming your way from a scientific side on Science Bob and Friends. We love it when Dr. McGwier is here, making us feel all giddy inside that we're learning tonight. Dog in Australia says, nice shirt, Science Bob.
I'm thanking him right now.
Bob, I'm going to let you have a convo with the audience. I'll be right back.
Can y'all hear me? I bet you can. Oh, yeah. Julie's reminding me I can talk. I don't have to put it into chat. I can be slow. Hey, Doug. How you doing, bud? I agree, Doug. There's a lot of people that don't want to be first on the chopping block. Thanks, all of you. I'm glad you can hear me. That saves me from trying to type and read you at the same time. Peter, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. There are lots of factors that go into answering that question. Hey, Waruna Farm. I have not discussed consciousness today. Well, I believe we're going to find out that consciousness is the foundation of the universe and that all of our physics is derivative from consciousness, that it's at the bottom. Derek, I despise Holly, but if he tells the truth about this stuff, good on him. I'm agnostic so long as the truth comes out. But Holly's he is a publicity hawk. So he could very well want to get stuff out so he gets credit for telling it. Hey, Angels Are Life. Well, we're seeing all sorts of stuff around here. I mean, Lala is constantly out back by our cameras, and she's been taking some amazing pictures where this smoke stuff shows up, and inside the smoke stuff are alien faces. And you can go see that stuff on her Facebook page.
Hey, Dr. Robert Steers, how you doing?
Hey, Dr. Steers. Yes, I believe that stuff in Tom DeLonge's first book actually happened, and we already know, Dr. Steers, that Grusch claimed that the Italian fascist government under Mussolini in the 1930s found a left behind craft, abandoned craft, took it in and controlled it. And at the end of World War II, the Vatican called the Americans and told them to come scoop it.
All right, hold on right there, Bob. We got 10 seconds. Thank you, Shaq, Lala, Deb, Bob, Louie, Kira, Iram, Atlantis, W. Decker, and Dog for the super chats. Here we go, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? Keenagog. Keenagog is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Science Bob and Friends continues with Dr. Bob McGwier as we are talking about UFOs, whistleblowers, the disclosure situation. What is happening around this subject from behind the scenes right now? Science Bob, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, really happy to be here. And next month, we're going to have an actual guest, so people won't just have to listen to you and me, even though I think we do well when we're on together.
All right. Well, let's talk about, before we get to audience questions, I want to get your thoughts quickly here on the situation that Ross Coulthart is allegedly holding on to, that there was a giant craft that crashed so big that they ended up building a building around it to cover it up. I mean, this sounds right out of a how can I put it? A science fiction type of movie or book where I don't know, Bob. I mean, I'm not saying that Ross Coulthart is wrong on this one, because he's not going to report anything that hasn't been factualized to him. Okay. And I'm just curious your thoughts on this grandiose report.
The government has unbelievable abilities to go in and excavate a place and move the thing like below the ground and then put a building over it wherever it is. And some of the stuff that I photoed, once I determined the distance I was away from it, would be such a thing.
Do you believe there is a craft that is covered up that way?
I do believe it. I believe David Grusch. The guy's not a liar. So that means he had a piece of documentation in his hands that he gave to the inspectors general and has told Congress about.
Do you think that report came from Grusch?
I think that was part of it. But I am certain Coulthard has other people telling those stories. He had the chief naval United States Navy scientist / engineer who, for a year or two before the guy died of cancer, tell him all sorts of stuff, all about the legacy program.
I don't want to question Ross Coulthard because I love what he does. I think investigative journalism is almost a dead art these days. Very few people are actually accomplishing it in today's mainstream media. Okay, but I've seen this question a lot on social media. How does an investigative reporter from Australia who lives in Australia, how is that reporter able to break so many stories out of the United States government? That doesn't make sense.
Well, he's just been totally dedicated to it. He's spent a fair amount of time inside the United States. He's hooked up with people inside the United States that have helped him. And he said, look, I'll take on all the slings and arrows. I'll never mention your name. Just help me find these people. And lots of people have helped him because they want the story out. They gave him breadcrumbs and he followed the trail back to the loaf of bread. And that's just the way good intelligence, that's the way good investigative reporting is done. You get your little breadcrumbs and you assemble them until you got the jigsaw puzzle put together.
So you don't think that's a story that is trying to, the United States military maybe is trying to keep out of the United States?
No, I think it's just he is a tenacious bulldog on investigative reporting and has done a good job.
All right, we're going to get to audience questions here. Let's start off with Derek. And Derek is asking, what would be the fallout from people finding out government has traded humans for technology?
Okay, so well over 50% of the people don't trust government inside the United States. It would go up a lot. It would just be, people would trust would be further eroded in the government. And it's going to be a horrible thing to find out. But the only way you fix these ills is cut out the cancer and cauterize the wound.
Let's go to Derek again. Follow up. So David Grusch, in your opinion, is a modern day Inspector Gadget?
Oh, he is an unbelievable guy. So people on social media have knocked him for his cognitive issues, but the cognitive issues he has are the kinds that allow him to hyper focus and just become totally obsessed with finding answers. And this served him well at finding all this stuff out. It's what made him a good intelligence officer. He's just a modern day Boy Scout in government.
Iram is asking, can you expect anything from the Tim Burchett hearings?
I think they're going to be so afraid of what Burchett might do. That's if Comey and McCarthy give him permission to actually call witnesses, that the Senate will be put in front of him and will do it first.
Yeah, I could see that too. I think if anybody's going to have public success, and I don't really agree with a lot of Tim Burchett's politics, okay, but I will say this: I am 100% in support of his gain for truth on the UFO front. He's the only politician out there right now who wants the real truth to this story, and I'm excited about those hearings. And I'm very excited about seeing what goes on. All right, let's go to Michael Ashworth. I got a major important question here, Bob, getting in early. Lou Elizondo said, the coming war. Can you give us your thoughts when the time's ready?
The coming war. Well, so look, we all have got all the tea leaves we need right in front of us to read kind of what's going on in the world. The United States government does not want to go to war with China. It does not want to. But the only responsible thing for the United States government to do is to prepare as if they're going to war. We're putting nuclear submarines with our allies in Australia. We're putting multiple new weapon systems on naval vessels, the kind that can zap. We're putting ray guns on naval vessels, megawatt powered lasers that take hypersonic missiles out and target 100 missiles in under a second and take them all out. I mean, I'm telling you, we are preparing to go to war against China if they try to take Taiwan. And they have gone all over the world and have misbehaved all over the place with their Belt and whatever it is initiative. But China is in trouble. Their demographics are collapsing. Their economy is collapsing. They have a manufacturing economy, and the manufacturing is leaving. All the raw materials they need to do the manufacturing come from the outside, and the United States Navy controls the choke points. And so they really desperately want to break the stranglehold that barrier of islands has around them. So they want to take Taiwan so they have free access to get their stuff in and out. And the United States is determined to maintain status quo until they decide they're going to behave. So that could be a coming war he's talking about. If it's a coming war amongst aliens or with aliens, I don't know anything about it.
All right, let's continue on with audience questions here. Let's go to Arrow. Does Justin Trudeau have the UFO topic on his mind? I doubt it, Dave.
He has his own political hide on his only topic he cares about.
That would be correct. Look, I'm not using my own political stature here, but the latest polls show that he is more than 20 points behind the opposition conservatives if they're in election today. So it's getting very, very ugly for Justin Trudeau, and he is trying to keep his head above water in a failing economy and with inflation and the average house price in Canada right now is $800,000 plus. Average.
Wow.
And well, you could thank Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, and Montreal for that.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very ridiculous. Very ridiculous.
Well, that's unsustainable.
Give me an example, Bob. Okay. My area, when I bought here in 2015, you could buy a house for around $200 to $250. Okay. Maybe $300 if you wanted a bigger lot or something like that. Open property in my area was $20,000 for a square half acre, maybe $30,000 for a full acre. Today, those square plots of acreage are worth over $100,000.
Wow.
Okay. And the average house price in my area has jumped up by over $200,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's got a lot more on his mind than aliens right now.
Yep.
All right, let's go to C-Tech. Question for Science Bob. Will non-human intelligence confirmation and reverse engineered technology instead start a new arms race instead of benefiting the world at large?
Yes. It could. It definitely could. Here, let me reset the video. Okay. Yeah, so I'm a little worried that it might actually do that. So, but look, according to David Grusch, this Cold War over alien technology has been going on for years and is getting worse.
It's an ugly question, isn't it?
It is, but it's absolutely correct that this has to be thought of.
Necessarily, yeah, absolutely. All right, let us go to another audience question here. And let me just go to picks here. How the government couches the acceptance of its dishonesty will be beyond important. They have to accept blame with excuses. What's your thoughts, Bob?
They're going to have to do something like that. If they just wave a magic wand and absolve them of all responsibility and Biden issues 10,000 pardons, he won't get reelected president. So I just tell you, I just don't know how it's going to go. They now may wait, roll out disclosure just a little bit, say, give us time while we deal with this, get through the election. And if he is elected, since he can't be elected for anything else again, he will pardon them all.
Let's go to the next one. Let's go to Max. What have you heard about a possible amnesty program?
Well, I have not heard any details about an amnesty program, but I'm absolutely certain that will nonstop be discussed because people don't want to lose their heads for following the rules.
Continuing on, let's go to Jules. If you want your question. That's for the audience. If you want your questions to be seen and answered, put them in capital letters, please. Let's go to Derek. Science Bob, what are your thoughts on the Joshua Hawley senator from Missouri now getting involved?
I don't really care for Hawley. He's a showboat, and he slings a lot of what I consider to be misinformation. But if this showboating gets us the truth, then more power to him. So long as he sticks to that and doesn't try to make something negative out of it. So long as he just positively wants the truth revealed. Congratulations, Hawley, on you're finally doing something useful.
Michael Ashworth wants to know, what's your thoughts on Dr. Stephen Greer?
Both positive and negative. The positive is he started us with CE5. He did start the Disclosure Project. And he had that massive press announcement in the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., and worked with Stephen on Bassett on all of this releases. And so he's done some good stuff. But then he started charging thousands of dollars to take people out and teach them CE5. And he's just gotten to the point where he's just absolutely obnoxious about claiming personal credit for every single piece of information that comes out in this field. And so I like what he did in his early days, but I think he has come across some personality issues that alienate people from being around him.
All right, let's move on to Scott here. What about downed aircraft? What do you think's brought them down?
Well, so there's all these stories we heard around Roswell that we fired up a bunch of radars and they weren't prepared for it and brought them down. So I believe something like that could be happening, that we accidentally do stuff that's not consistent with how their technology works. And so they haven't protected themselves from things we do that's different from how they do things. And it brought some of their craft down.
Do you think the government has been gifted UFOs by extraterrestrials?
I think they have found left behind UFOs. That seems to be a consistent thing that's told everywhere, especially if you believe the Italian story that Grusch told, that the Mussolini's government found one, hid it, and the Vatican told the Americans about it and told them to come get it.
I apologize, Bob. My signal continues to. We're having thunderstorms here right now, so my signal is jumping through here. I apologize to our radio side for our couple of blips there momentarily. Hopefully the storm passes over. You know what lightning does at this time of year, Bob?
Starts fires.
Yeah, and we don't really need that right now. I'm a little too busy here doing what I need to do. Okay, let's continue on here, Bob, with audience questions, and let's go to our good friend Peter Thorgerson. What's your thoughts about Dr. Niemer up in Canada?
I don't know enough to give you a decent answer. What do you know, Dave?
Well, what I know is Dr. Mona Niemer is the top scientist in Canada. She is trying together, and she's starting to get some blockage on getting all the alphabet agencies up here to bring their UFO files under one roof. Now, she is allegedly going to have some sort of UAP report come October, and that has been mandated that she will have a report on it. But she is continuing to look into it, but she is struggling right now. And her office is not talking about this subject from people who have tried to dig in to find out where she is on this right now.
Well, we already know that Americans that we know the names of refused to talk to the science people because they had been in charge of put in charge by the government in power to deal with this. And of course, this was obviously done to allow the people who are actually running this program for the United States and Canada, but for Canada, not to talk to the people that came over to talk to them. They put your government put the wrong people forward, even though Canadians in general want science to run this. So we'll just have to see what happens. I hope she opens up a can of worms.
Mennonite Abe wants to know, what is your thoughts on Tim Burchett?
Tim is tenacious. He's absolutely tenacious. And he's decided that this is a big issue, which can get him a lot of publicity. And I'm not a Republican, and I don't support his politics, but I support whatever effort he can make to bring the truth out in this.
I hope he goes well. Like I said, I think he is the only one asking the real questions that need to be asked from a politician.
I think Rubio is really taking a swing at the bat. He's swinging at the ball.
But the difference between Rubio and Tim Burchett, granted, one's a senator, one's a congressman. Okay, the difference is, though, Rubio is more tight-lipped over national security, whereas Burchett is like, give us the aliens, give us those craft. If we have possession, we being the American public, have possession of this, we have a right to know what we got. He's old school politics that way. Okay.
He is definitely a really go-get-em, loudmouth politician from the South. He's kind of typical. But my feelings are that Rubio and the Senate and McCarthy are going to sit on him. That's what I think will happen, but I could be wrong.
I would agree with you. All right, let's go to Sweet Tony D. Presuming the world, and we got about a minute here, Bob, presuming the world has the same as what the Five Eyes have, why haven't we seen the tech in commercial use? And is NHI confirmation their way of getting that tech out? Have they figured it out?
Okay, so I believe we've already seen technology come out. And let's suppose 10% of what Philip Corso told us in the day after Roswell, then we've already been bringing this tech out. And so I think this memory metal that came out of Battelle Institute at the end of World War II is an example. Fiber optics is another example.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, my friend. Can we squeeze in one more? Probably not. We got 20 seconds. Bob, great questions from our audience so far.
Yeah, they're great.
And we are going to get into more audience questions when we return on Spaced Out Radio for the second half of the show. If you're listening in on our terrestrial affiliates or you're listening in on the podcast, always remember, if you're listening live on our YouTube channel, you can get in there and ask questions. And if you're on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, you can always ask questions that way as well. We encourage all of you to join us in the fun each and every night here on Spaced Out Radio. We got Science Bob and Friends with Dr. Bob McGwier for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We will be right back. Stay tuned. One sec. Little Timmy Senor, I see you in the background. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Just give me a thumbs up, Little Timmy Senor. All right. Just so you know, there is no Among the Missing tonight. So after the 11 break, I'll be coming right to you, okay? All right. Thanks, buddy. All right. Wow. This show is flying, Bob.
Yeah, it's great.
The old science Bob. Love it.
Yep. Yeah, the audience is just pumping out the questions. They really, really have a lot of good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You got a good audience tonight.
Yeah, it's amazing. 275 tuned in. That's a good show.
Lex, Amy, Michael, thank you, folks.
Tokeland, Lex Diaz, how you guys doing? Let's see here.
Derek really stepped up.
He always steps up. He's
man,
amazing.
Oh man, that's a nice gift.
He was telling me earlier today he was watching a guy, I guess on YouTube, open up a $20,000 pack of NBA basketball cards. And one of the cards the guy pulled was a $5 million LeBron James.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, Major Lee, how you doing? Yeah, he texted me on that one. I was like, holy cow. I don't know if I would risk 20 grand on that. And, you know, somewhere out there, whether it's in some old Canadian barn or some old American house or barn, you know there's that pack of cigarettes that still has a Hodis Wagner in it.
You know it.
You know it's out there somewhere.
And you know you'd love to find it so long as it's been protected.
Oh, yeah.
But look, I mean, so the government has put a ton of old intelligence hacks in jail for taking a ton of documents home with them. You know dadgum well somebody's got a house full of documents about this UFO program just waiting to be found.
Well, there was a guy out of Ohio. I forget his name. I have it up here, where he walked in on a garage sale one day, and he's looking through a box and came across a bunch of Project Blue Book stuff. And he said, how much for the box? They were like $20. He took it. Photographs, paperwork, no top secret stuff, obviously. You know, but like he said, it was incredible. I'm not that lucky. Not that lucky. Hey, Dead Fish, how you doing? Dog, thank you so much for that awesome super chat again. Baby UFO, thank you for your great super chat. Very much appreciate it.
Derek's got the right idea. He wants a brand new 10 out of 10 perfect Mickey Mantle from the 1950s. It's worth $50 million.
Derek, if you pull that card, I have a radio station for you to buy. Yeah. Wow. Mickey Mantle. You know it's out there.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. We have enough questions for the next half hour, guys. Hopefully we will get through all of them. Fermi Paradox, how you doing? James Weston, Scrub-a-Dub-Dub. Body Tech, how y'all doing? Thank you for coming on in. We got about 1 minute before we're going to get back at it here. Dead Fish, good to see you. And I missed a couple of super chats from JSCO and C-Tech. Thank you so much.
Hey, baby UFOs. Good to see you here rather than Twitter.
All right. Let's say thank you tonight to Kashak, Lala, Deb, Bob, Lori, or Louie, Kira, Iram, Atlantis, W. Decker, Dog, ×2, Louie again, Marty, Sandra, Derek, C-Tech, JSCO, and Baby UFO. Very much appreciate the love. Thank you for supporting what we do on this show. We really do appreciate it. And here we go, Bob. We're through one half of Spaced Out Radio. Time to kick off the second half. And glad you are with us as we are talking about the UFO invasion tonight with Science Bob, Dr. Bob McGwier. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Yes, Science Bob and Friends continues right now on the big show. And Bob, we got a ton of audience questions for you as Dr. Bob McGwier joins us once a month here for this epic show. Bob, JSCO is asking, do you have insight into how the aliens themselves feel about disclosure to the masses? What do you think their response will be?
Okay, so my limited interactions, which Dave knows about, have come with clear-cut instructions and intent. Let's put it that way. And my only task is soft disclosure. They're just not ready. They don't think we're ready. That's my personal experience with Lala and I live with.
All right, let's go to Super Crazy. Will we ever see non-humans being interviewed on TV to introduce their species to the world?
I hope so, but I don't have any. Maybe they won't be interested in that. I think they probably think we're quaint or evil. Quaint or evil.
Quaint is a good word. We don't use that one enough on this show.
Yes.
We really don't. All right, let's go to C-Tech here. We know Congress can't reveal any smoking gun evidence they see in closed hearings, but can they even confirm that non-human intelligence or reverse engineering technology exists without starting a new arms race?
Yes. I believe that with all my heart. They can say enough so that we're certain and say, you know, we're not very long. We can't figure it out, even if we've got it all figured out. They can lie to the world. That intelligence people do that all the time.
I think that if they come out with new technology very, very fast, we should be suspect of where we get it from. You know, Bob, I always like to bring up the airline industry as a good part of this story. Every time I see flying over my house, a Boeing 737 or a 747 or an Airbus, and their maximum speed is about 585 knots, okay, I think about how antiquated those airlines are. I think about how antiquated. There is no way in 2023 it should still be taking 5 hours to fly from Los Angeles to New York.
But Elon Musk is going to be able to fly in 30 minutes or fly in an hour from Texas to Tokyo. He's going to be able to land his rocket on a platform. I mean, we're getting past all of that. It's going to be an amazing decade to come, even if the aliens don't give us stuff. The military is already writing contracts with him to transport their stuff all around the world with the greatest logistical moving thing, which is a super heavy rocket you can imagine.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would love to see it sooner.
Me
I
too.
would. All right, let's go to JSCO. Do you have insight? Okay, we already asked that question, Bob. I apologize about that. Let me go to Sweet Donna Spencer, who is asking, what about the aliens who broke that contract, Bob?
Well, if they, I mean, what choice do we have? I don't think we have any defense against them. So it would all depend on the actual context and what actually happened. So I wouldn't call them our friends if they're not living up to their end of the bargain.
Well, I think we also have to look at it too, and be made reminder and cognizant of the fact that there's more than one extraterrestrial species that is coming to Earth. Okay, and with that, we're going to get some bad ones. We're going to get some ones that are not very friendly, that are not very healthy, that are not very good for humanity. We hope that they can stay out of the picture. We don't know how they will if they've already found us. The only good part is, I mean, we got to remember, this is like people. Not every person is a good person. For what is it? For every 100,000 people, there's a a serial killer among every 100,000 or every million people, Bob. I mean, maybe you know the stat better than I do.
No, but I mean, look, there's definitely going to be some bad ones, but I also think it's probably true that some of the good ones have been our protectors.
I would agree with that. Let's go to Super Crazy. We got a couple questions from him. Will the aliens intervene if humans try to use nukes?
My understanding from 3 different experiencers that I believe, given the things they claim happened to them, have happened in my presence. So I saw it with my own 2 eyes, heard it with my own 2 ears, felt it with my own skin, etc., etc. So I believe them. And I proposed an experiment that one of them carried out to the happiness of the government. Okay, so I believe these experiencers, and they say that is what is coming, that there will be a bad time when somebody fires a nuke and the aliens will stop it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that, but you never know. You never, ever know. All right, Bob, let's continue on here. Let's go to Super Crazy once again. Do you think that the non-humans respect humans and see us as equals?
No. Nothing that grabs up men, women, and children and does whatever it wants to with them without permission sees us as equals. We're cattle.
Well, that's to the point and blunt.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue on. Let's go to Derek. Science Bob, what are your thoughts on Richard Doty? I guess he had some words today that he was brought in for some intelligence meetings regarding this subject.
Richard Doty is doing everything he can to recover his reputation, given all the counterintelligence, misinformation stuff he was ordered to do by the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, the Air Force Office for Special Investigations. So that was particularly a counterintelligence operation. And he did some pretty ugly things to people that were involved in this field. So, and I think now he's trying to recover his reputation, and he seems to be just coming right out and telling stuff. I mean, he told this really amazing story in the last month about he was read into, for a short period of time, contact with the entities out at Area 51 and S2. And that was when one of the entities escaped from S2 and his job was to go out and capture them. And then as soon as the job was over, they read him back out. So he actually was briefed on the entity that he would be going after, got him and brought him back, and then he was read out, which is very typical in these special access programs. You're read in for as long as you need to be. When you no longer have need to know, they read you out and fire you and tell you you'll go to prison if you talk about it. And I think his non-disclosure agreement expired, and he's now out talking about it. And he may be talking about it with someone's permission. I mean, he is really talking out of school.
That is amazing. It's amazing. All right, let's continue on here. Amy would like to know, what is going on with all of the activity on the sun and CMEs?
Okay, so it's the normal high of the sunspot cycle. Every time it happens, we get lots of flares and coronal mass ejections. And so you just ask the right person the question. So I'm putting an ionoson together to go out during the October eclipse and the one next year to measure the impact of all this on the ionosphere during a solar eclipse. So I've worked with a bunch of solar scientists and space weather scientists, and I'm doing technical development work for them. I'm building their instruments.
All right.
It's normal. So it's normal for the sun to do this.
All right. After disclosure for Super Crazy, will humans get to Mars sooner rather than later?
Well, Elon Musk, I think, is going to land a Starship on the Mars just to say he did it in the next decade. I mean, he's going to build these things. He's going to build 1,000 of them. He's talking about turning out 3 Starships a week. I mean, he's just going to roll this stuff out like crazy. He is going to totally dominate and take over all space activities. And I think he's going to land on the moon. I think he's going to land on Mars. I think we'll get there pretty quickly with Elon Musk around.
All right, let's go to Dog in Australia. Bob, as a fellow bald man, what's your shaving routine? Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Actually, whenever Lala tells me I look like a woolly snurf herder, it's time to shave my head, she does it.
Oh, my. How do you know we are off the trails again? All right, let's go to Toothbrush. Science Bob, should Bob Lazar accept the challenge to a scientific debate with Eric Weinstein?
I don't think he ever will, because Eric will chew him up and spit him out. Eric's pretty tough.
Bob Lazar doesn't have to prove anything to anybody.
No,
I know that's going to be an unpopular opinion. He's given us a story. He tells you don't need to believe him. That's what he saw. Okay, would it be nice to 100% know whether or not he has done that? Yes. I'm surprised. I'm sure, like you are, Bob, that after 34 years, nobody has come out and stated they worked with Bob Lazar at Area 51.
So Grusch said that there was this really odd element that people don't know how they got it, and it was high in the atomic tables. That sounds like element 115 to me, but who knows?
Do you still believe Bob Lazar?
I know the following is true. Bob Lazar took out people to the desert in Rachel, Nevada, or nearby. And he took them out there and says, okay, look over there. And the next 30 minutes, the craft is going to fly. And John Lear went out there with him and videotaped this stuff flying over the Area 51. And Rob Freeman just did it recently. Went out to 14 miles from Area 51 and got glowing orbs with energy fields around them at Area 51. So Bob Lazar could not know that schedule if he did not work there or have a serious source inside leaking classified information to him.
I would agree.
That's what I believe, is he knew the schedule of when things were tested at Area 51 and S4.
Well, that makes things kind of interesting, doesn't it?
Yep.
It really does. Let's go to
The logical implications are he worked there.
I would agree, but it would still be nice to get that confirmation.
I agree with that too.
That's just greed on our part, though. Let's go to Super Crazy. Is something going to happen in 2027?
Every experiencer I know that makes these predictions says something is coming, and it's around that time. Some people say different things. They're not mutually exclusive, so more than one thing can happen at once. But I believe they're coming.
All right, let's go to Worsley here. Could we possibly use iron to terraform Venus? This would be done to create fyrite.
There are ways to terraform Venus. It'll take a long time, and we aren't technologically capable yet. But I don't know about iron and pyrite.
Wouldn't it be too hot there?
Well, that's the deal. With terraforming, you reduce the carbon dioxide by capturing it and sequestering it, and then the radiational cooling brings the temperature down.
Would you sooner put people on Venus or Mars?
I think if we could put a floating laboratory in the atmosphere of Venus, it'd be easier to live there. But we'd have to have a reason to do that, because that's going to be really expensive. Musk has given us a way to go to Mars cheaply, and I think he's going to pull that off. So after Musk's city is built, I think it'll be a good thing.
Will it be important, Bob, for us to get as many people on other planets as possible?
Yes. We really don't want to put all our eggs in the Earth basket. We want a different ways for the light of human consciousness to survive a catastrophe.
But it is true, though, that once people get used to the atmosphere of Mars, they will likely not be able to come back to Earth.
It's the gravity of Mars. The atmosphere is nearly non-existent. We're going to have to manufacture our atmosphere the entire time we're there. But growing up from birth in that really light gravity, they would not have a good time coming back to Earth.
What would happen?
Well, their bones would be too brittle, and their muscles wouldn't be developed, and they couldn't stand up or breathe even.
That's so odd to think about.
Yeah. So the density of our bones is helped by the crush of gravity. If they don't have the crush of gravity, their bones won't grow dense enough. You see that happening to the astronauts. Their bones leak the calcium in them while they're in orbit, weightless. The body does not replenish it because it doesn't think it needs it.
Okay. Let's see what else we got out here, because I think we are dried up for questions now with 5 minutes to go, but that's okay. I'm pretty good at asking questions, Bob. Your thoughts on any more videos coming out? We really haven't seen any new videos. The Navy says we're not getting any. Could any new hearings release new video footage?
Only if the President of the United States declassifies them. If Biden wants disclosure, he'll declassify some video.
Do you think we need more grainy videos? Or do you think
No. I want the one Elizondo tells us he's seen.
That 23-minute video.
Yep.
What do you think?
With all the identifying markers and characteristics of the sensor system that captured it removed.
I'll get this one in from Tim and Tim's high-quality goatee. Bob, do you think ET tech could support or could be a sort of panspermia that spreads throughout the universe to evolving species?
There's just nothing that convinces me more than all these things coming to visit us are humanoid forms. I just can't see how you could have parallel evolution all over these places on different planets, et cetera, without there being some connection. So like some heavily advanced ET thing seeded this whole area of the galaxy in order to build us as an experiment.
Okay. Do you believe then that the ET tech will allow us certain little gifts, let's say, like maybe how to fly through wormholes, how to travel into the future or back in time into different dimensions? Do you think that will allow us to do that?
I think that will be cosmically censored from us by the advanced races until we've grown up enough to do it.
All right. Mennonite Abe wants to know, do you think RFK Jr. is good for UFOs?
I do not, simply because I believe he has zero chance of being elected and any hope placed in him is wasted.
Jeremy wants to know, do you think David Grusch possibly knows the contingency plan and location if they had to move a craft?
If Grusch has told them where the building is where one is kept, they won't be able to move it.
All right. CS wants to know, where are the safest places to live in the next 5 years?
The interior of the United States or Canada.
All right. Continuing on. 2 minutes to go. Let's go to Joe. When will we have a space station that's a big circle that spins, creating artificial gravity?
Well, I've seen some designs here in the last 2 weeks of how Musk is going to take his starships, put them on a wheel and spin them. So it looks like he could put together, if he put the hub up, he could put together that space station in a heartbeat. And the nice thing about it is every time they wanted to change out everything in it, they just attach it and land it and send it back up.
1 minute to go. Tim wants to know, Bob, please explain 1.6 gigahertz importance.
Okay, so 1.6 gigahertz, that is solely used for space to ground and ground to space communications. Nothing else inside the United States is allowed to use it. So I've got to tell people, I've always thought Skinwalker series was interesting. I thought it was interesting, and on occasion, I watched it. This last season, I've become deeply interested, and think they are producing really, really, really interesting things, including what's going on in 1.6 gigahertz is regularly being used to spy on them, listen to them. And how do I know this? Because they tuned into that signal with a radio and they heard their own voices going up to space. Something was surveilling them and recording them and passing along what they were saying back to somewhere else. So space to earth, earth to space is really important, but it's also being used to maintain a watch on all these Skinwalker Ranch activities.
Bob, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio again tonight. Very much appreciate a good episode of Science Bob and Friends. Bob's not saying goodnight to us tonight. I don't know why. He's not saying goodnight. Oh, he's waving.
Good night.
There we go. Coming up next, Tim Senor, and the UFO report. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Boy, my computer's doing strange things tonight. I just did another Microsoft update last night after the show. Wow.
Yeah, I did one this morning, and stuff is weird.
Yeah. All right, Bobby, we'll let you get to bed.
See ya.
Thanks, bud. Take
Bye-bye.
care. That's look at the little Timmy Senor. Nice little hallway shot there. All right, let us take a break here. I will be right back, and we'll get right into the UFO report when we return. Okay. I am back. Let's scroll on down here. Kira, thank you again for another lovely super chat. Very much appreciate the love. Catherine, thank you. Mama Catherine. Mwah. You're the only one who gets kisses here, Mama Catherine. Thank you, love. All right, let's say thank you to Shaq, Lala, Deb, Bob, Louie times 3, Kira, pardon me, times 3, Erom, Atlantis, W. Decker, Dog times 2, Marty, Sandra, Derek, C-Tech, JSCO, Baby UFO, Pam H., and Catherine for the lovely super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you feel we need, and leave a comment after the show. It helps with the algorithms. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Xenagog. Xenagog is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the night where we're going to, tonight, skip Among the Missing, the story by Steve Stockton, because he's on his travels to New England, where he's moving. Yes, he's fallen in love out there, and soon will be a married man. Yeah, good for Steve. And so we're going to get right into the UFO report. Here is little Timmy Senor.
Nobody's going to know.
They're going to know.
Tim Senor, what's happening, my man? Good to have you for a little bit more of extended time here on the UFO report. But you know what? Hey, there is not much else going on right now. So we figured we'd drag you out of bed. You know, we know you got your pajama bottoms on while doing this. How you been, buddy? You need to turn your mic on your end. And that usually helps with radio.
Yeah, there's a little button. Didn't hit the little button, Dave. Thank you for that. Things are great here, though. Things are great. Thank you for asking.
Little buttons usually help.
There's just this little button. All I had to do was press it. It's so simple. Simple radio. But I'll tell you what, there are things going on. There are big time things going on. In fact, was it last night? I think I saw something in the sky and I texted my buddy Dave. I'm like, you're not going to believe it. I think I just saw a UFO. It was crazy. I saw something bizarre in the sky last night traveling east. And it was funny because I had my phone and it moved so quick. I didn't even have time to get it with my phone in my hand. And I had my, I had been using the radar because I'd just seen a satellite. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And it was traveling north. And then all of a sudden, just as quick as I mean, just in a blink of an eye, this ball of white light just flew east without any trail, totally silent. And I already had my satellite tracker open, and it was absolutely not a satellite. So I don't know what it was. It's officially a UFO in my book, but I have nothing but this anecdotal story. But for me, it was still really cool because it just moves so fast. I'd never seen anything move that quickly in the sky. It was really intense.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, when you get a sighting like that, I mean, the emotion that you kind of go through in order to have that extreme sort of fun. I mean, it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool to get that adrenaline rush from seeing something you don't recognize in the sky, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not saying it's ET, but either way, it wasn't something that showed up on any of my immediate data trackers. I didn't have any tech or anything with me, really, even though it was all in my house. It's actually all packed and ready for shipping. I'm about to go on a trip. So, as you
Well,
well
where are
know,
you going? Where are you going?
oh, a little old British Columbia, coming up to visit you and Merle, and gonna film you guys on your adventures. But this was a really cool little taste because I wasn't expecting to see something right on my front porch. And I think I texted you. I texted, Terry Hall, who's also a buddy that lives out here in Oregon. I'm like, go look outside and get your camera, because he has a Psionics camera, and I was hoping he could maybe capture it, except it was going east, and he's not east of me, unfortunately. But still really cool. One for just me, at least, that there's things out there that don't show up on radar, that aren't, blipping. It's just an other box. Who knows? But super cool.
It is very cool, dude. I'm so excited about you coming on up here. I really am, and for our little project that we are going to be working on over the next little bit here, it's exciting times to be able to have those positive moving forward discussions on, how we're going to do things, how it's going to look, what kind of pants should old Davey wear. This is stuff that's
Should he wear pants?
Oh, I'm going to wear pants, man, because I know the mosquitoes are going to be absolutely crazy out there.
No
Crazy.
shorts for you then.
No shorts for Davey when we go out into the forest.
It's going to be such an adventure meeting the big hairy man. Not Dave, the big hairy man, the other one that lives out there.
Hopefully,
the Bigfoot.
Hopefully he shows up.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get something, Tim. I really do believe we're going to get something.
I'm feeling lucky.
Me too. Question from NeuroStream here, and I think it's an important one. What do you think's happening with the Logan Paul UFO video? Because he's gone pretty silent on that. He really has. What's your thoughts, Tim?
My personal thoughts, I mean, he's getting married right now. I think Logan Paul is focused on, his prime being in the headlines, because there's just way too much caffeine in those cans. But I think, he's got other things going on in his life on the immediate. But I think he danced away from that topic pretty nicely. I don't think that he plans on doing anything with it, because I think he considers that stolen, and that's part of the reason I feel like he hasn't come forward with that. I'd love to see his button cam video, but the owner didn't want it to be made public, so I think he's respecting that. So at least he's keeping it to himself. But that's ways and means that I don't necessarily agree with. I would never steal media. What's happening with the Logan Paul video? I don't think anything. I think he's sitting on it for right now. And whenever he's asked about it directly, he changes the topic, I think, just because he feels probably an element of guilt at how he acquired it. Button cam video, come on. That's pretty low.
I would agree with you on that one. And I think that he look, when you're that rich and you have a team of lawyers around you that are controlling your life to make sure you don't do anything stupid that's going to cost you millions or whatever. And you know what? He may act like quite a fool on camera on his YouTube channel or his podcast or whatever, but he's done very well for himself as he's matured and surrounded himself with proper business people. And whoever helped lead him to that direction, good for them in doing that. Okay. He's a self-made guy.
And
I
he's
have
a
no-
great wrestler.
and I'm surprised he hasn't gone WWE full time yet. I'm just saying that,
Who knows?
they'd put a belt on him in no time.
He's still young, so
true, but he doesn't need the money. That's the thing,
Those guys don't. The Rock doesn't do it for the money. Come on, those guys, they do it because they love it. I mean, forget about it. The money's nice, I'm sure, but I think there's some passion there, even though it's WWE at the same rate. I think that a lot of those guys love their fans and just love doing it. Who knows?
I would agree with you. I would agree with you on that. But, I bet you his lawyers shut this down very, very quickly because there was probably a letter that was sent from the original owner and the fact that he admitted that he stole the video.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure there was a multi-million-dollar piece of paper that was handed over saying that if you release this, we're coming after a good chunk of your income.
Yeah. Very interesting stuff, though, needless to say. And if he is sitting on evidence, I would hope that Clark would release it at some point. I think that's the person that needs to release it.
What's really cool is
Chuck Clark.
in the 1 second here, Tim.
Yeah.
I don't mean to go to dead air here for a second.
It's not dead air. You got me. And I was just going to say, I think Chuck Clark is really the one that should come forward with the video, even if it's, not perfect and it's old.
What's really cool is when you go to the Little Alien in Rachel, Nevada, you actually can buy a book for like $17. And it's just a little pasted book. But if you look who created this, Chuck Clark.
Yeah.
And he's autographed them all.
And what's cool is it is really his signature, because go ahead and hold yours up and I'll hold mine up. The signatures are different. Like they're similar, but it's actually not the same.
And in different spots.
Yeah. Different spots is probably even a better point.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Very cool. And the information in it is really interesting. You're not going to get it. It's not the full package when you get it online, because it is available online. It's interesting. There's information that's not online that's in the book. Some of the details that you can tell it's a little more controversial.
Oh, yeah.
And the maps and things. So
it is so interesting to look at.
Yeah.
So interesting to look at. Oh, yes. Gotta love it.
Indeed.
All right. Let's get to some UFO topics for tonight, because that's why we do bring you in here, little Timmy Senor.
Oh, yeah.
And let's start off with the U.S. government's secret project that follows alien abductees. What's this about?
Interesting. Yeah. And this is brought to us by Nicholas Redfern. And for years, numerous abductees have reported close encounters, not just with UFOs and aliens, but with what had become infamously known as the black helicopters. And these usually unmarked craft are reported flying over the homes of abductees. On occasion, they'll hover over the same homes for minutes at a time, and precariously low levels. Typically, they turn up within a day or two of an alien abduction experience. And so all of the evidence suggests that the helicopters are piloted by quote-unquote black ops teams who have three primary agendas. A, to try to determine the range and scope of the alien abductions. B, to frighten the experiencers into staying quiet on their experiences. and C, to figure out the true nature of the extraterrestrial agenda. So, the black helicopter based experiences of numerous people have been addressed deeply, including those abductees such as Betty Andreasson, one of the most famous figures in ufology. And Dave, you've brought her up a few times on this show. But not only that, there are claims that that deep within the heart of the Department of Homeland Security, there exists a small group that secretly and actively monitors the alien abduction issue. And so much of this is undertaken by keeping a careful watch on social media, primarily Facebook and Twitter, as well as websites, blogs, lectures, podcasts, conferences, and books. The DHS group is secretly compiling an extensive database of alien abductees all over the United States and the planet. And so, on occasion, DHS agents have visited the homes of abductees, warning them not to talk about their UFO abduction experiences, and in some recent years, gone so far as to threaten these people. And so, such actions may have been interpreted as so-called men in black encounters, and sometimes drugs were induced to make those experiences more intense. Now, how about a careful examination of the MyLab phenomenon that, which has been escalating in the 20th century? The military abductions, this is all part of these reports. And so some people are saying that they're not aliens and they're military. And so there's a lot of history behind this. And you can go into more deeper affairs, evidence of serious government concerns about the real alien abduction phenomenon continuing through the 1950s all the way up to present day. And Dave, I know we've talked about it a few times on the show. This is a great article coming from Mysterious Universe. And I encourage people to go there and read deeper, because we all know that this is a topic that isn't easily spoken about publicly. And when it is, it's the government that's probably listening in. And Dave, I see that you're wearing your favorite hat. Over to you.
Well, I think going into this speech, first and foremost, that we should say hello, hi, how are you, to all the agents and agencies that are tuned on into Spaced Out Radio tonight. Give us a call sometime, because you already have the number. We don't need to provide it for you. And remember, some of us can be bought. I don't know if you just heard this a moment ago, but I've got the studio window open here. And I got like a coyote in my neighbor's yard howling right now. I don't know if you heard that or not.
I didn't. I was probably talking.
That's
great.
When I took the headphones off, to put my beautiful National Security Agency hat on that was given to me at our Spaced Out Radio party, it makes for interesting times. But let's talk about this, because this is an interesting subject. Okay. First and foremost, you and I both know, and we can thank Random Guy for this, okay, for telling us and confirming that a show like ours is very much paid attention to by what we are talking about and who we are talking with on a nightly basis. We know for a 100% fact, we in our chat rooms on YouTube have members of the National Security Agency and other agencies who chat with us on a nightly basis. That's already been proven.
Yeah, good guys.
All right. That has 100% been proven. And, we may only have, we're not the biggest radio show out there. We may only have 8 terrestrial radio stations, which is a lot more than 99% of the UFO community. Okay. We may only have, we're just creeping up on 23,000 subscribers on YouTube. I would love to see another 100,000. I really would. Okay. But as we go forward, we have been told that we are being paid attention to, along the fact with a lot of other of the larger and smaller shows that are out there like this. We're paid attention to because we are free information for these alphabet agencies. They want to know who we're talking to when it comes to alien abductions. When I talk about my own, you don't think that's on record somewhere? Of course it is, Tim. Your sighting with your family is on record. Okay,
Reported it.
Absolutely. They have it all, right? And you look at our SOR fan party. How many members? I mean, I didn't know up until shortly before our party that former CIA person, John Ramirez, was going to be there. He's now finished up all of his podcast duties and he's gone silent.
Good guy.
Okay. We didn't know that there would be other people there. Okay. Making strange things happen around Random Guy. We don't know, who these people are. Another prime example, David Grusch last year attending a number of UFO conferences, and nobody knew who he was up until a couple months ago when he came out as a major whistleblower on the UFO topic, formerly of the UAPTF. They being the agents and agencies are surrounding us in this area. And look, that may sound very Tom Clancy-like, okay, but I think it's intriguing. I think it's fun. Right now in our chat room, we don't know, unless somebody tells us, we don't know who an agent or agency is. If I read off half of the nicknames in here, you wouldn't be able to tell. And they are here every night. Every night. Does it make me paranoid? Not at all. Not at all. It intrigues me. It's like I've always said on the air, Tim, with our chat room, I always wonder how many famous people have listened to our show. And I got reminded of this the other day because somebody I idolize in the YouTube community is a magician named Chris Ramsey. He's a Canadian magician out of Montreal. And when I got told that on his own podcast, he mentioned Spaced Out Radio. This is a guy with 7.14 million followers on YouTube. Okay. And I geek out to his puzzle quests that he does every week. And I watch them, and a lot of the times I'll retweet them on our account. Well, he got tripped out because one of the dudes who's played Spider-Man in the past is someone who was, on a television show or a podcast talking about Chris Ramsey's, puzzle channel and magic channel. And Chris was like, I can't believe this. Spider-Man watches my channel. And I'm like, dude, now you know how I felt when I learned that you were tuning into Spaced Out Radio and talking about it. So I always wonder, in our audience, because on YouTube you could make your name whatever you want, how many movie stars or rock stars or athletes are tuned on into the show? I will never know. Well, I would love to know. Could you imagine if all of a sudden you find out that like Floyd Mayweather tunes in, or Dana White from the UFC tunes in? That would be wonderful news. Would I keep it quiet? Absolutely, I would. Absolutely, because you got to play that game. But I mean, it would be cool to know. And it's the same thing with the UFO conferences, Tim. Hey, you never know who's listening in at any time. When we return on the UFO Report with Tim Senor, alien hunter of Harvard accused of stealing materials. Avi Loeb, are you in trouble? My name is Dave Scott. This is Spaced Out Radio. The final half hour is next. Yeah.
Do you know who Rhys Darby is?
No.
He's a New Zealander who has a show called This Flag Means Death on HBO, and he's a comedian, and he's fantastic. And he did a great podcast while everyone was staying home. He's just great. Anyways, he's got a sidekick named Buttons, and we ran into Buttons, and Buttons got Reese Darby on the phone, and we had a conversation with him. And it was like one of those moments where you get to meet your personal hero,
Yeah.
and we were talking about your show. And so I'll tell you, you might have Reese watching, but he probably wouldn't be watching live. He'd be doing a rewatch. But he knows all about you. And Reese has his own Bigfoot and paranormal podcast with
Wow.
Buttons. Yeah. And so you guys are super like-minded, and we have all kinds of things in common. He wants to go across country in an RV and search out the phenomenon just the way I do. So yeah, it's one of those things. So you get a chance once in a while to meet your heroes, and sometimes they're just as cool as you were hoping.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. I'm just tweeting a picture here for Chris Ramsey. We follow each other on Twitter, which is kind of cool.
What did you think of that crazy video that Thomas Fessler forwarded to you today?
That looked like you?
Isn't that bizarre?
That was totally bizarre. Totally bizarre.
Yeah.
How bizarre. How bizarre. How bizarre.
I mean, let's see if I can bring it up here. It flipped me out. I was like, I never did that. I'm like, I don't have that sweatshirt. I thought for a second it was me, but he had a tattoo on his inner right arm that made it a dead giveaway that it wasn't. But other than that, I was like, whoa, this guy looks like me. This guy looks like me. He's even got the similar, let's see if I can get it to focus. And he's doing the polka. He's a polka DJ.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are the chances that you get your doppelganger sent to you via Twitter? Homie really does look like me. The funny thing is, I showed this to my wife. She's like, yeah, but that guy looks really old. I'm like, oh, great. Everyone thinks that I look like this guy. So, I mean, it's crazy. That is very much lookalike-y. I'm not sure what he's doing there. He's doing one of these. I don't know if I can sort of. There you go.
I love
Meme
it.
that. GIF that.
Love it.
That's for you guys.
It's totally little Timmy Senor
Polka.
there.
I swear it's not me.
Total little Timmy Senor.
Polka. It's too
Doing the
funny.
polka.
It is too funny.
Oh,
I don't know whether to feel bad for me or him.
I don't know.
Spitting image. Gotta love it. Wes Decker, thank you for the chuckles. It's just funny.
It is funny.
Yeah.
Totally funny. We got like a minute and a half.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So, has Sam given you any updates on the hairy man in the woods? Is he getting ready?
Oh, she is getting ready.
I'm so stoked.
She's getting ready. She's putting the intentions out there. You have to, man.
Do you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
You guys in your woo. To me, it's more woo-hoo than woo. But
I can't wait to see little Timmy Senor.
I'm just going to
sprinting out of the forest.
No, man, I'm going to hunker down. I'm going to freeze. Just like you. You said you're going to freeze.
You're hilarious. You're not going to freeze. It's warm up here right now, man.
No, I mean, like if I see him and if I'm not, instead of running away, I'm just going to freeze.
Oh, probably.
Statue.
Probably.
I'm like Dave, you're statuing. Should I statue? You're like, yeah, you should statue. Just
Yeah, it's a good time to statue right now. All right, Tim, we got 5 seconds. Hold on. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to hear you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with Tim Senor and the UFO report. And it looks like the man who wants to be the face of ufology, Avi Loeb, the famed professor and astrophysicist from Harvard University, may be in a little bit of hot water right now, Tim.
That's right. Got to get your permits, right? That's a big part of any expedition. Make sure you let the locals know and the local government that you're going to be doing an expedition where you'll be taking away samples. I think that's kind of the lesson here. A Harvard boffin who has discovered what he thought could be remnants of an alien technology or spacecraft at the bottom of the ocean has been accused of stealing the space debris by Papua New Guinea. And so Professor Avi Loeb, who's been dubbed the alien hunter of Harvard, has dedicated years of his life to leading the Ivy League's university's Galileo project. And so last month, he finally made a breakthrough when the $1.5 million expedition into search of a meteor which crashed Earth nearly a decade ago ended in success. On January 8th of 2014, the object now known as IM-1 hurtled through Earth's atmosphere at 100,000 miles per hour, disintegrating into fragments off the coast of Manus Island in Papua New Guinea. And so Avi Loeb and his team of students went out on a journey looking for the deep sea debris. And so after narrowing down the point it hit in the sea, Professor Loeb and his team of deep sea explorers spent 2 weeks combing the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, literally combing, and announced at the end of June that he had recovered what they believed to be fragments of the interstellar object. And so the team dragged a giant magnet along the seabed to uncover 50 tiny iron sphere-shaped fragments. And so the team brought back to Harvard to analyze this debris and found that it was tougher than all space rock ever cataloged by NASA. And so he told CBS News that the fact is that it was made of materials tougher than even iron meteorites and moving faster than 95% of all stars in the vicinity of the sun, suggested potentially it could be part of a spacecraft from another civilization or some technological gadget. But in a twist to the potential breakthrough, the controversial professor, whose speculation has been branded premature by some scientists, has been slammed by Papua New Guinea officials who have accused him of literally cheating their country. And so authorities claim Professor Loeb and his team removed the mysterious space debris without obtaining scientific research permits. And so they feel that literally they've been cheated, in a quote from the George Penua Pellon, the deputy administrator of Manus. And so he added in this quote that they came here, no one knew about it, and now they've gone. What have they found? Does it have value? Do we have rights over it? If it's scientific research, how are our scientific institutions going to benefit? And so now Papua New Guinea's National Research Institute, who coordinates research applications from overseas scientists, claim Loeb's team didn't contact them and arrived on business visas rather than the special exemption visas usually issued to scientists. So it's starting to look like a lot of the planning fell through the gaps, and they didn't let the right authorities know that they were coming and planning to take debris away. And this could be a little bit of a thorn in the side of Professor Loeb furthering this research. It could mean, I don't know, all kinds of things, but there's some implications that could definitely mean a halt to their procedures moving forward on their investigations in Papua New Guinea for sure. Dave, how do you feel about this right now?
I'm going to speak honestly and boldly here. I think it looks good on him. That may not be a very popular opinion, okay, but Avi Loeb over the last couple years has really treated this story like he's the gift to ufology that ufology's always wanted. Okay, there, and look, he's a brilliant man. You don't get to where Avi Loeb is in a prestigious, teaching in a prestigious school like Harvard by being a dummy like Dave Scott. Okay, I can tell you that right now. He is a brilliant man. But at points, I think there's a lot of arrogance and ego that goes along with this because he wants to be the man. He wants to prove to his colleagues that he was right on his call in saying that the old Oumuamua that flew past here in 2017 was actually a spacecraft and not a piece of space debris or junk or an asteroid or a part of an exploded star or whatever it may be. He is thoroughly convinced on that. And that's what made me a fan of Avi Loeb. Okay, but when he created the Galileo project, I think we saw something different in him. It was a hyper ego move to create Galileo. I realized it had to be done, but when he started adding government researchers or with government ties, to me that really lost focus on the project at hand. It turned from being a civilian type of research that we had our guy in the bank, and it seemed like he turned on us when all of a sudden he started adding a number of government scientists, government agents. You don't if you're looking for the science of it, Lou Elizondo, no offense to Lou, doesn't have to be on the Galileo project. Okay, he doesn't. If this is the way you're going with a scientific and non-threat narrative side. And many others on that list can be highly questioned as well. And I think you would agree with that. Okay, maybe not. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think from talking to people who know Avi Loeb much better than I do, word on the street is he believes he can win a Nobel Prize for this work, and he will stop at nothing in order to get that Nobel Prize and the fame and fortune that comes along with it. So was this an ego move? He's done enough of these over the years, maybe not looking for UFO parts, okay, but enough of these studies over the years around the world to know how they are to be completed. But I think this one was done purely out of ego, and I think it looks good on the project.
Okay. I mean, I agree with you to some extent, except, I mean, I agree with there's an element of ego and he probably does want to win the Nobel Prize. But at the same rate, I love the concept of bringing science and, an enthusiasm and discovery and engaging students. That whole concept, I think, is fantastic. The other part I like is boots on the ground investigations. I think that's great. I wouldn't approve something that's tearing up the seabed of dragging a magnet. I don't like that acquisition. That's not gathering in a very great way. I'd rather send divers down or do something other than just dragging the floor. That seems really invasive. But Professor Loeb claims that he did engage with Papua New Guinea officials, but it sounds like just not the right ones, or perhaps he got the wrong permits. And this is one of those things where, frustratingly, he may need to return those spherules or whatever he's calling them. Do your science on them and then return them to the country that you acquired them from, and try and undo some of the damage you've done, if there is any. But at the same rate, I do encourage this kind of scientific investigation, just less invasive. I don't think we need to tear up our planet to find anything unless we're sure it's there. Like, let's be sure before we dig. And we already know that our seabeds need protection. So I'm somebody that's really an advocate for sea protection. So I don't like that he was dragging a magnet from day one. But all that personal Greenpeace aside, I do like the investigation portion of this. And I do feel that this, being publicly shown as like he didn't do the proper whatever here. I think it's important, because it's a learning thing for him too. This has never been done before. So hopefully moving forward, he'll get all the permits that he needs so that if it is an issue about tearing up the seabed, because perhaps that's why this wasn't the permit that he acquired. I'm totally guessing. I don't know. But my point is simply that you need to make sure you're given all the permissions to go somewhere, especially in another country. But that's one of the things you just have to do.
Well, and I agree with you on that, and that's what I'm saying. Like, his team is smart enough where they know they need those permits. You just can't go and take stuff from another country. That's like going to Egypt and finding a new pyramid and deciding to raid it without any consequences. There is no difference. We have to. If we go traveling to a different country, if I come down to the USA and I get caught speeding, I can't just say, "Oh well, I didn't know. I didn't know that you had speed limits down here,
or that you needed an international driver's license."
You do not need that in the U.S.
In Canada, you do, though, right?
No. Canada, U.S., and Mexico. You do not need an international driver's license.
There you go.
Yeah, so we're lucky that way.
But international waters.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the next topic here. Bob Lazar said UFO was archaeological findings. What's this about?
Yeah, I was digging away online, and I discovered on How and Whys a great story from Vicky Verma. And, this is always something going to be good. So recently, Ross Coldhart's statement on the alleged huge buried UFO outside of the United States unleashed a storm in the UFO community. He claims that he knows the exact location of this craft, and now UFO enthusiasts are haunting and hunting the alleged site where this gigantic immovable craft could possibly be sitting. And so scientists have explored the possibility of detecting ancient civilizations in Earth's geological record. And they discuss how traces of the industrial civilizations could possibly be found. And even NASA spent years seeking the truth regarding extraterrestrial life, looking underground and looking at macroscopic and microscopic life to consider what's potential on other planets such as Mars. And so considering possibilities that we've been hearing coming from eye-opening statements from officials like Lou Elizondo and others, they discuss crash retrievals and materials related to unidentified flying objects. And Elizondo even acknowledged the sensitivity of the topic and the potential consequences of discussing it openly. Now, Elizondo also expressed his belief that the U.S. government does possess exotic materials, but he could not provide further details due to the lack of transparency from the government. And so he mentioned the 3 layers of analysis that can be conducted on a piece of material, namely physical, chemical, and atomic or nano level research. But suggesting that these materials exhibit engineered characteristics and peculiarities outside of the normal range is known as metamaterials and is raising questions about origin of the technology. So bringing up Bob Lazar. Now, we are remembering back that Bob Lazar had been one of the first people that actually considered the craft that he was looking at as being something that had been discovered. And when Rogan, during his interview with Bob Lazar, he asked, have you ever asked anyone that has any inkling of any idea of where they got them or how they got them? Lazar replied, no, but something must have been said to me from Barry, who was his lab partner at the time. And he can't quite remember exactly what was said, but it just left a seed in his mind. And in a quote, he says, I think at least one of them was part of an archaeological dig. So it's old. Something that at least one of them is old. I don't know if that's the one I worked on, but I remember something to do with an archaeological dig. So Mr. Loeb believes that it's possible that some of the technological advancement devices made by early inhabitants of Mars and Earth are still operational elsewhere in the solar system. And he even suggests that some of those gadgets could be the source of some of these reports that the Director of National Intelligence of Congress has been discussing. But he's not alone in thinking that there's advanced civilization and some evidence of it buried archaeologically around the planet. Some people even have guessed that the pyramids of Egypt were built around wrecked craft or parts, or even built from parts. So it's interesting that Bob Lazar brought it up in his interview with Rogan, but you can tell that somewhere along the way that seed stuck with Bob because he brings it up in that interview. And even though he can't guarantee that it was the craft that he himself worked on, he believes that at least one of the ones that were in that recovery location were from an archaeological dig that was recovered from underground.
Have you noticed recently that all of a sudden everything has to do with archaeology? Avi Loeb, now this Bob Lazar story, the Ross Coulthart story about the craft that crashed. They built a building around it because they couldn't get it out, and it was too big. I mean, this is turning into real Indiana Jones type stuff here, Tim.
Maybe it's just in time for the new Indiana Jones movie. Who knows? Maybe it's all to sell the new flick, Dave.
No, but the timing's weird. Honestly, I mean, this isn't a conspiracy theory or anything like that, but I mean, the timing is weird regarding things like that. And I just don't get it sometimes.
Oh, Hollywood definitely, I think, mirrors what's going on in the world. So I agree with you there.
Very true. Very true. But I mean, at like 117 years old, does Indiana Jones still have it? Like, come on, Harrison Ford. You're 117.
He sends his minions now to do all the heavy lifting.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We got 2.5 minutes to go here. I'm surprised Bob Lazar would talk about something like this because it just seems way out of his realm, doesn't it?
It does. And I'm not an advocate of Bob Lazar's story or anything. I think it's just interesting that it's being highlighted now at the time that, Ross Coulthart, who also speaks from the hip, brings out this claim. But he holds all of the answers, yet he won't tell it to us. Like, he knows where it is, but come on, man. Tell us where it is if you know. You're killing us.
Right? Right? I want to know, man.
I want to know.
I totally want to know. I'm pumped up about learning and knowing more. But I mean, realistically, if they're crashing, if we knew where the crash sites were, okay, if we knew where the crash sites were, would we not do the same? I mean, think about it. Wouldn't you take if let's say, 15 minutes from your house, an old farmer's field, that's maybe turned into public land now. Wouldn't you take a metal detector and start going over that field where there was an alleged UFO craft? I would.
Well, yeah, and let's just say that there was a massive craft that they recovered at Skinwalker Ranch, and they suddenly realize, oh my gosh, and like it's showing. Don't you think potentially they would immediately cover it? They would put a building around it so they could excavate it properly. Like, I don't quite know what to expect next. I like what you said though.
Well, I mean, I just look at it as it's the way it has to be. I mean, it doesn't have to be too difficult. Old Davey's not into the difficult stuff.
Well, I
That
definitely
is
I love it. I think at some point it's going to uncover itself. I really do. So whether it comes from, a Rogan interview from Bob Lazar, or if we get it from Ross Coldheart, or if we're getting it from some new voice, hopefully a firsthand witness, maybe they can point to a map and tell us where to look, because I'm ready to see a craft.
Oh, me too. Me too, man. Well, you saw one last night, so you're one up on me, but I'll wait for the close encounter. You can see all the craft you want. I want the close encounters, man.
Don't blink, because you'll miss them. Man. Whew. Fast.
Well,
Fast.
Tim, I want to say thank you for another great UFO report on Spaced Out Radio. You outdid yourself once again, my man. So thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this. You're a big part of what we do, and I'm very excited to see you next week. And a big thank you to Science Bob McGwier for coming on in for a great show, taking everything into account regarding UFOs. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. Solid show. Solid show. What do you say there, little Timmy Senor?
Yeah, I think it was just too fun.
That is funny.
It's great. I was so turned up. It was like one of those moments. I was like, okay, Thomas gets me.
Mr. Eon, thank you, voice of the gods, for making me laugh during the intro of the last half hour. Very much appreciate that. Yep. Totally your fault. And I know you're laughing right now, Ian. I totally know you're laughing right now.
Oh yeah, Mr. Ian has figured out an anagram of my name, and it's I'm a stoner. How perfect is that? Thanks, Ian. I wasn't planning on sticking around or anything. I just here I am. Do you have anything you wanted to talk about tonight?
You can talk about whatever you want, dude.
Hmm.
You want to hang out? You can hang out and be one with us. Who's on the show tomorrow night? Maya M. Rosso. I think we're getting into like near-death experiences and healing and quantum healing and all that kind of stuff tomorrow. So that's kind of cool.
You should read up on that before you do the interview.
Why?
Sounds deep. Do you already know about that stuff?
A little bit.
That's cool. I know nothing about that.
Oh, I know. Timmy. Timmy. I gotta put these somewhere.
You guys were talking about baseball cards and hockey cards and things being valuable. I was given a comic book collection as a kid, and there was an Amazing Fantasy 15 in there, which is the first appearance of Spider-Man, and I kept it, and I got it graded, and it was like a 4.0, not like super huge, but when I sold it, I paid off all of my student loans with it.
Wow.
One comic.
That's insane.
And in fact, it got the highest at the time. I was in Vegas when I sold it on eBay, of all places. And at the time, it was the highest net for any comic book on eBay. And you can still look it up. It's pretty cool. But it was for like, 2013 or something. Yeah. Comic books. I still got tons of comics. Yeah. Do you have any questions, anyone?
There are some questions for you.
Okay.
Let's see. Runa wants to know, Timmy, what do we think of Uri Geller saying he's seen aliens?
Oh, Uri Geller. Well, I would say if anyone had seen them around that time, he would have probably been given an invitation. That guy was invited to such incredible parties and opened doors, not figuratively or anything, but like literally, he was in on everything. I'm not super familiar with the answer to that, but if he said that he's seen him, I wouldn't doubt it. But I don't know. Spoon bending with your mind, do you think it's a trick or do you think it's possible? I mean, you start there.
You know what, though? Even before the spoon bending, though, if I don't know much about Uri Geller, okay?
He was into the phenomenon big time.
I know that. I know that much about him. But here's the thing that I look at, dude. Okay? We're so tainted as a UFO society about people like Geller or Doty or Jim Semivan or people of that ilk that we tend to how can we put it? We tend to immediately squash anything that they may or may not have seen or heard. Okay. Here's an example of what I'm trying to give here. Okay. Is Uri Geller worked very closely with some very high profile people within the UFO community before it took off on the internet. Okay, we're going back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And the people he was working with were very high profile, basically running the weird desk. And of course, that falls on the shoulders of people like Hal Puthoff and Semivan and John Alexander, and they're not just going to bring anybody into their fold and stick with them over the years if they're phony. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
That
yeah.
doesn't do them any good. I mean, we can sit here as a UFO community and slam all of these old bird aviary people for whatever. Okay. But they were there for a reason. Uri Geller was there for a reason. Right.
Yeah. Can
And
I jump in very quickly here? Because
yeah,
I'm just putting two and two together. Warona is asking a great question here because I just realized I watched the film The Men Who Stare at Goats last night, and that literally is about this.
yes.
Psychic spies and remote viewing. And this is literally so funny that, Wirona Farm would bring this question up right now because it's, quite literally been on my mind. I think there's an element of real to it, because why would our government invest so deeply in on it around the same time as they were experimenting with, LSD and other mind control drugs? It seems very parallel in line with some of the other concepts. And at that same time, that is when the controversial years were, when that, if there were going to be bodies or a craft, it was hard paper. There was no internet. So it would be easier to burn the paper trail, if you will. So maybe, if there were bodies to be viewed, I would say, why not? I would say Uri Geller was probably one of the guys that would have been in on it. But bizarre, because man, that film is so intense. The Men Who Stare at Goats, it's slow. It's it's a really slow film, but the message is clear, and I think it's great. They were trying to run through walls and trying to kill people just by staring at them, and just bizarre things like that.
Yeah, I got to rewatch it. The last time I watched it, I fell asleep.
It's slow pace. But great acting. It's deep. Remote viewing, it's heavy duty. And when you realize, potentially that, and it says right in the beginning of it that this could be true, but they can't say that it is, but it probably is. Great film. That's so crazy that was the question. Do we have any other questions? What else we got in there?
Well, let's take a look here.
Good question.
Peter wants to know if NASA killed JFK. I would say no.
CIA, right?
That was a CIA hit the whole time. Allegedly, for YouTube algorithms, allegedly.
Hey, what do you think of these big metallic orbs that are perfectly spherical that people are finding around the world? And they're doing testing on them. But there's like all kinds of like musical signatures that come from them. They seem to move on their own. Have you heard about this?
No, fill me in.
Well, you can Google mystery spheres, and they're these things that people have acquired randomly. I'm sure your chat will know more about this. I was hoping you knew. But there are people randomly around the world that have them, and the government is always trying to take them from the people, and the people are like, no. And then mysteriously they'll be taken and then returned, or like never returned. But there's all kinds of stories about it. I wasn't sure if maybe you'd heard about it. Maybe I'll dig it up and we'll talk about it one night. No, it's not beer balls, dead fish, cheese spread. Don't you miss party balls? Oh, do you have Molson over there still?
How can we not have Molson? It's made here.
Right, but is it still around?
Yeah,
it's still around. Okay, I don't drink, dude. I don't drink. So
when you go through Chilliwack, British Columbia, on your way up to my house, you will see the giant Molson brewery on the side of the highway.
Cool. I don't know why I brought that up, but yeah. Because cheese bread, we would get Molson party balls. That's right. When I was a kid. Oh, Canada. Thank you for being so close to Rochester, New York. Good stuff. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, moose beer. Yeah.
Moosehead.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ian, for sending that orb picture over. It's
Ian
hard
is
for me
an
to show it
artist.
right now because I am editing the radio show. No swear words tonight. That was good.
Nice.
Very happy about this.
At least you know I always keep it clean. Have I ever sworn?
Yes.
Really?
I don't know.
All right. Let's see. We should be talking UFOs. This is OT.
Yeah. I'm tired.
I'm a little tired too.
Like, literally, like you're gonna pass out here.
Okay. Well, rather than stew on it, let's do that. It was great to see you. I'll see you Friday, 2 days.
You will, and then you'll see me for sure a week Friday.
Yeah, dude, I'll be sitting in that studio with you if we're gonna do a show.
Yeah, what is that night? Let me check here.
Do you have a guest?
Carmen Turner shot. I'm taking that night off. Actually, I'm gonna get Marquise to host for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so that way, maybe on that Friday night, because we're not going to start filming until Saturday, correct? No, we're filming Friday. So I want to
21st in the morning. We start shooting 21st in the morning. Yeah.
I still think you and Merle you and the crew and Merle need to come up because you guys fly in on the Thursday, correct?
20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you right now, you guys are going to be beat up from that 4.5, 5 hour drive. I think you guys should just travel it in one day. We get a good night's sleep, get up Friday morning, and go shoot.
I'm cool with that. I mean, that would be ideal. I think it was up to Merle because wasn't he going to snag us from the airport?
Yeah, well, that's where you got to tighten the screws on old Merly Bird.
I like that. I will. We talked today. I'll call him again tomorrow.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome, dude.
All right, buddy.
Thanks for staying up later. And thank you, chat, for making it fun.
Appreciate you.
For sure. I'll let's see if I can do this. Doing things, getting stuff, and
hey, hold on a sec. Hold on. Watch. Little TV Senor. I got him. Yes, I got him. Woohoo! Oh, I could even bring him back in. Look. Well, hey, whoa. How do I do it? I'll be right back. I am back. Guys being good? All right. Let's move these over. Come on. Cancel. I went to the chiropractor today. She snapped me good today. Very happy about that. Very happy about it. But my back is getting better. It's loosening up, which is nice. Good morning, Skip to Malou. Ouch. that one's done. That one's done. You were on fire with the dad jokes there, voice of the gods. All the time. Hello, Simply Coco. Hope you. What was your drink of choice for tonight, my dear? If you're still around. On that note, tomorrow night on the show, Maya M. Rosso is going to join us, talking about quantum healing and NDEs and all sorts of stuff with her tomorrow night. It's going to be a great show, a little bit different than what we are normally used to, but I like it. A big thank you tonight to everybody who gave us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, and to our super chatters tonight. Shaq, Lala, Deb, Bob, Louis ×3, Kira ×3, Erom, Atlantis, W. Decker, Dog ×3, Marty, Sandra, Derek, and C-Tech, JSCO, Baby UFO, Pam, Catherine, Nero. Thank you so much for the love. Really helps us out. Hey, from Vancouver Island, how you doing? I started my radio career in Parksville and Qualicum. That's over on Twitch. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Come join us on YouTube. We got a much more active chat room over there. If you want, that'd be great. But we're shutting her down for tonight. You guys have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow night, everyone.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.